Hello, I am Beck. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be drawing a D&D character based on the roll of the dice.
Let's bring out the Tower of Destiny!
Now we have an Aarakocra Cleric, which is fun to say, and if you're not familiar with the Aarakocra, they are essentially bird people. Typically they resemble eagles or hawks or sometimes parrots, but because it's still mermay, I decided that I would have this guy be a seagull. And I drew a lot of inspiration from my favorite mermaid-related seagull, Sebastian from The Little Mermaid. So you might see a little bit of inspiration in my drawing today. Officially, the description of what an Aarakocra looks like is standing upright. Aarakocra are typically about 5 feet tall, and they have long, narrow legs that taper to sharp talons. Feathers cover their bodies, usually red, orange, yellow, brown, or grey, and their heads are avian, often resembling those of parrots or eagles. So yeah, they're bird people, you get it. Special traits that you have if you're playing as an Aarakocra include flight. Because of your wings, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. You can't use this flying speed if you're wearing medium or heavy armor. Talons. You have talons that you can use to make unarmed strikes. When you hit with them, the strike deals 1d6 plus your strength modifier slashing damage, instead of the bludgeoning damage normally used for an unarmed strike. And you also have something called Wind Caller. Starting at 3rd level, you can cast the Gust of Wind spell with this trait without requiring a material component. Once you cast the spell with this trait, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can also cast the spell using any spell slots you have of 2nd level or higher. I should probably mention that the race of Aarakocra, like every single race and every class, has an official lore background. So whenever I'm playing a game of D&D, whether I'm DMing or I'm playing with my friends, we always prefer to just make up our own world. So we're basically just taking the characters and taking the mechanics of how you play and applying that into our game. So we'll make up a reason why bird people evolved or how bird people exist. But in the official D&D guidebooks, they do have an official background and what world they come from and what they're descended from, and usually if I read it, which I often don't bother to read it, I will take it with a bit of a grain of salt, or I'll just use it as a bit of an inspiration and either push the idea further or sort of mold it in a way that makes it more fun for me to play the character. So if you're into like the like hardcore official guidebook lore, because it is so detailed, it's been someone's job to make up the background of this character, so it's much more refined than anything that I would ever go into on this channel. But I recommend you give it a read if you're into world building and lore and that sort of stuff, because all the races have really interesting backgrounds, and all the classes do as well, particularly if it's like this is where the magic comes from and this is how the magic actually works differently between classes. Anyway, I digress. Cleric. What is a cleric? A cleric is imbued with divine magic, which means that they get magic from the faith that they have in their chosen deity, or the deity that has chosen them. So there could be a religion in the world that you're playing where there are lots of priests and lots of followers, but only a cleric has actual divine magic, has the ability to use their faith to do magical stuff. So that's what the cleric's all about, and there are a lot of cleric domains that you can choose between. Every deity has influence over different aspects of mortal life and civilization, called a deity's domain. All the domains over which a deity has influence are called the deity's portfolio, which sounds very businesslike, but okay. For example, the portfolio of the Greek god Apollo includes the domains of knowledge, life, and light. As a cleric, you choose one aspect of your deity's portfolio to emphasize, and you are granted powers related to that domain. Now, the god I have chosen for this particular character, who I'm going to call Sebby, in no way related to Sebastian. Why would you say that? So Sebby is following the god Poseidon, who is, in the D&D Beyond description, god of the sea and earthquakes, and his symbol is a trident. So I obviously wanted my character to be holding a trident, and being god of the sea and earthquakes, I thought it would be really like a good idea to have someone who can fly, and also who's part seagull. He would not see any issues with someone whose one of his main deals is causing basically mayhem. The alignment of this god is chaotic neutral, so he's not trying to be evil, but he's not trying to be good either. He just is. And isn't that the way with most of these? Well, actually, most of these gods are very varied in D&D Beyond, but whatever, you get it. So, because it's sea and earthquakes, I thought the nature domain of the cleric subclass would make the most sense. Among the long description, we have clerics of the nature domains being champions who take a more active role in advancing the interests of their particular nature god. These clerics might hunt evil monstrosities that despoil the woodlands, or seas in this matter, bless the harvest of the faithful. Again, they might bless so that there are more fish in the sea, or better coral, or something like that, or wither the crops of those who anger the gods. So in this case, I think earthquakes and tsunamis caused from earthquakes would probably be something that this guy would be able to pray for, obviously, but maybe at much higher classes there might be something you can do to make a spell that kind of has that happen. At first level, you get spells like Animal Friendship and Speak with Animals. By third level, you have Bark Skin and Spike Growth. There are a few really sort of fun, kind of druid-like spells and magic that you get when you are of the nature domain in the cleric class. Now, having a look at his stats here, we have a +2 to strength, which tells me that he's used to carrying heavy things. He's sort of built up some muscle over the years. Whether that's carrying treasure chests or mermaids, or maybe even moving boulders aside in caves, or potentially like helping after Poseidon has caused an earthquake or something to like move the rubble away, and maybe to survivors he's trying to convert them into following Poseidon by saying like Poseidon has spared you, or even the more harsh route of like your village was destroyed because you didn't worship Poseidon, so maybe get on that. But I digress. His strength, +2. He's a strong guy. Dexterity, I don't think that he really has needed a lot of, like, he doesn't need to dismantle fiddly little traps. He doesn't need to set up traps. He doesn't need to be sneaky or anything like that. So he's really just average in that area. Constitution is +3, which is his highest stat on this board. I think he does enjoy a drink at the pub. I think he's also used to, say, flying over the ocean where there's nowhere to land, so he would just like keep flying while he's tired. He's used to working through weariness, and he doesn't really let physical restraints slow him down if he can help it. Intelligence is +0, so much like Dex, he doesn't really need to use his intelligence that much. Like, he doesn't study books, he gets his information directly from a god. He doesn't need to study maps because he's flying so much that he just kind of has a map in his head. He's not stupid or anything, he's not a dunce, but he just doesn't really see, he's not a studious guy, doesn't study. Wisdom is a +2, so he's wise. He's lived enough life and talked to enough people and experienced enough stuff that he can tell if someone's lying usually. He's got a good read on people, and that he's just wise. He can apply the knowledge that he's gained. Charisma is a +1. I think usually he'll be more charming than intimidating in terms of charisma, but I think when it does come to like somebody is going against his god or going against Poseidon, he can be quite threatening as well, but in the kind of way where like a representative of God isn't really the same as seeing God in action. He can threaten that his god might cause a tsunami or might do an earthquake or something like that, but it's a +1, so it's not as scary as when that thing actually happens. In terms of his background, I would say that he is definitely a chosen one. Like, Poseidon chose him. He didn't pursue the path of becoming a cleric so much as he was born into the role. I don't know if Aarakocra are born like human style or if they come from eggs, but because they're so bird-like, I'm going to assume they come from eggs. So I think what happened was something like he was in a nest with his egg was in a nest with the other eggs, and in the course of like Poseidon smiting some area of land, his nest got like thrust into the ocean and his egg was the only one to survive. And because it was part of this big, this like, not a miracle, smiting is probably more accurate. He survived this smiting and he did become Poseidon's chosen one when he hatched on the shore amongst all this devastation and chaos. I don't know if he has I assume obviously he was raised by someone, but I think potentially his biological parents might have perished in that disaster, but he was raised by Poseidon-fearing folk who saw the devastation and raised him to be a God-fearing child. Or man now, I guess. In terms of why he would join an adventuring party, I think it would be a case of like, if the party has some sort of campaign where they are trying to stop some evil king or queen or something from decimating nature. So like, say there is a kingdom and they're doing some sort of terrible experimentations, whether it be with magic or anything else, and it's polluting all of the natural land around them, including the ocean. That is somewhere where this Aarakocra, Sebby, would be very interested in teaming up, especially if the other members of the party can help him to like clear the oceans, or if they can tackle the like land side of things or even the people side of things. So like, maybe Poseidon would do some smiting on the kingdom, but it's not the kingdom's fault. It's just like one or two, or like a small council of people. So like, if it's the king's fault or like this evil legion's fault, it's not, the whole kingdom shouldn't have to suffer for that. So it's something that requires a little bit more finesse than something that a god-level smiting can handle, but it's something that Poseidon would obviously direct Sebby to be like, you need to sort this out. The fish in the ocean are dying, all the aquatic life is dying. This is not okay. So I think that would be why Sebby would want to join a team and work with some other people who are maybe better at, you know, having a rogue who can sneak into a castle, and a barbarian who's a little bit better at kicking ass. You know, that kind of thing. You know, it's an adventuring party. You get it. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a comment telling me what your favorite thing about it is. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing and blah blah blah. You get it. Have a good one. Catch you next time.